This video is made possible by NordVPN, a virtual private network service that gives you the freedom and peace of mind to browse the internet safely. The toughness of the things was almost incredible. Even the terrific pressure of the deepest sea bottoms appeared powerless to harm them. Very few seemed to die at all, except for violence, and their burial places were very limited. That is a description given by Lovecraft himself when discussing an Elder Thing. So far we've covered most of the major races and species in Lovecraft's mythos, bar maybe one or two, so in today's video we will be taking a look at the Elder Things. The Elder Things were considered the first alien race to have inhabited the Earth, colonizing the planet over 1 billion years ago. Lovecraft described them as being 6-foot tall, incredibly strange creatures with an oval-shaped body and starfish-like appendages at both ends. They possess characteristics that you would expect from an animal, but also plants and vegetation. At the very bottom of their bodies we see a 5-limbed appendage, which like many things in Lovecraft's mythos resembles tentacles, and we can assume that these were their primary way of movement, though given their size it's hard to imagine they moved particularly quickly. At the very top of their body is another appendage where their numerous eyes and feeding tubes can be located, and these certainly add to the plant-like imagery that surrounds the Elder Things. They also have a set of retractable wings that can be used for general flight as well as drifting and sailing through the ether. Despite an appearance that doesn't look like it represents a vast amount of intelligence, the Elder Things did possess a 5-lobed brain, so they definitely were quite an advanced thinking species, and we do briefly see this in Lovecraft's novella, in At the Mountains of Madness, where he describes them as possessing highly advanced technology, though due to how naturally resilient they were, they found little use for most of it. Another interesting fact about the Elder Things is that they reproduce through the distribution of spores, and this in itself isn't particularly strange in Lovecraft's universe, and you can potentially read this as Lovecraft thinking these races had advanced past the need for intercourse, or this may have something to do with the fact that Lovecraft himself was quite an awkward and sheltered person, who most likely wasn't too experienced and had little to no interest in things like sexual intercourse, which is why so many of the beings that he writes about just sort of multiply and reproduce through other means. The ones that do happen to reproduce for intercourse often do so with humans, creating quite grotesque hybrids or even abominations in Lovecraft's eyes. Some of this may definitely come down to Lovecraft's irrational fear of race mixing, because of theories at the time that claimed the mixing of races caused mental illness. But the late 19th and early 20th centuries were full of bad science that made wild and outlandish claims with little or no scientific backing, which ultimately led to many things being misdiagnosed. The Elder Things first made an appearance in Lovecraft's novella, At the Mountains of Madness, written in 1931 and later published in 1936. We learn a small amount about how they may have looked, and it's hinted that they possess some kind of energy-based weaponry, as well as being experts in genetic engineering, playing a large role in our own existence. The earliest ancestral forms of everything living on Earth were in fact created by the Elder Things, though their reasons for developing these life forms have been heavily debated. Many argue that these life forms were created and bred for them to feed on, as they were thought to be carnivorous in nature. There are also theories where humanity was created for its psychic potential, that the Elder Things would harvest in the near future. The Elder Things even created their own slave race, known as the Shoggoths, who they brutally murdered when they attempted to rebel against their masters. When the Elder Things' lost city in Antarctica was eventually discovered, there were carvings that showed they possessed an understanding of physics and cosmology equivalent to mankind in the 20th century. These carvings are likely millions, if not billions of years old, to give you an idea of how advanced the Elder Things were when compared to humanity. So how exactly did the Elder Things survive all of those years on Earth? Well, as we mentioned earlier, their extremely robust exterior meant that they weren't really affected by extreme heat, and even the pressures at the depths of the ocean had no real effect, making them extremely versatile enough that they could live anywhere on the Earth that they pleased. They were also capable of hibernating for extremely long periods of time, and because of how tough they were, there was no real threat from predators. However, being the first alien race on our planet meant that they went to war several times with the other species, including the great race of Yith, the Migo, and the star spawn of Cthulhu. Despite all of these different wars and confrontations, ironically enough, the only enemy they could not defeat would be the Ice Age. Unable to deal with the steep drop in temperatures, they fled to their undersea cities and began to hibernate, and there they would remain, defeated but not destroyed. So lastly, many of you may be wondering what the relationship was like between the Elder Things and the Great Old Ones, and honestly we don't really know much except for the fact that they were enemies. It's hard to call either side good or bad, but the fact that they were enemies shows us that even if we are incapable of understanding what these alien species wanted, there's a good chance they didn't see eye to eye, or even share the same plan for humanity. The Elder Things were essentially an extremely tough race of aliens that helped shape the Earth and all life on it, but we don't really know much about them, and I guess that does fit the trope of the mysterious creator, the maker that we never get to meet. Out of all the alien races mentioned by Lovecraft, the Elder Things are certainly amongst the most popular, appearing in countless stories that followed. So let me know what you think about the Elder Things in the comments below. Had you previously heard of them, or have you seen them in any other form of media? The Elder Things may not have been around during the time of VPNs, but if they were, they most likely would have told you to use one. With companies and individuals attempting to track everything we watch, buy and listen to, internet privacy has never been so important. So how does one stop this from happening? Well, the simplest way is to use a VPN, and this is where NordVPN comes in. With over 5,100 servers in 62 different countries, you can access their service from pretty much anywhere in the world, and you can even connect up to 6 devices with just one subscription. Not only does NordVPN not log your data, but it comes with unlimited bandwidth and peer-to-peer sharing, and it's highly recommended by PC Mag and VPN Mentor, websites that clearly know more about this than I do. It's hard to put a price on keeping yourself and your family safe when browsing the internet, but NordVPN is great value for money, and if you use my coupon code MFE, you'll get yourself a whopping 75% discount, meaning that NordVPN will cost you as little as $2.99 a month, and with my coupon code you even get 1 month completely free. So check out NordVPN using the links in the description, and use the code MFE to keep yourself safe online at a price that you can afford. As always, I've been your host, Mythology and Fiction Explained.